Good morning, everyone. It's time to go on the record. This morning, tackling the city's biggest issues with Boston's Mayor Marty Walsh. Plus,
outsiders leading in the polls for the GOP presidential nomination. Will it work? Should it?
and the third Republican debate, the targets and the fallout.
From WCPB Boston, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Very good morning to you, everyone. I'm Ed Harding, along with News Center 5's political reporter Janet Ruth. Thank you for joining us on OTR. Our guest this Sunday morning is Boston's Mayor Marty Walsh. There are some key issues facing the city right now. The balancing act between taxis and car services such as Uber and Lyft. The billion-dollar fantasy sports industry. Should these sites be taxed? And the sweetheart deal that the Red Sox cut with the city during the previous administration. There are things to get to. We welcome the mayor. Great to see you, as always.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Let's start with the Red Sox. You've been critical of the Red Sox BRA deal that was signed 2 years ago, and that gave the team sort of a very phenomenal deal, according to the state inspector general. Was Tom Menino responsible for that financial gift to the Red Sox?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, the report was very critical of the BRA and what the BRA did here. You know, I wasn't part of the deal. I wasn't part of the negotiation there. You know, when I questioned the deal, I just said, I don't know what was the intent behind the deal. I know what the report says as far as this was deemed a blighted area, which clearly is not a blighted area. But I think there could have been other ways of doing it rather than selling Yawkey Way.
You would have done it differently.
Yeah, I think I would have continued a lease opportunity. I mean, I'd have no problem with shutting Yawkey Way down for events or in the Red Sox and allow it to continue on because it's an economic engine for the city.
The report said it was a blighted area?
It was one of the tools.
Right, that was the reason why they, right, exactly.
Right.
But here's my question. Brian Golden, who you appointed as the head of the BRA, he was part of the leadership team at the time that this deal was signed. Did you sit down and have a talk with him after you read the Inspector General report?
No, I did. I had a conversation before that. He was not in on the workings of this deal. He was the secretary of the BRA, but he was not in on the intricacies of putting this deal together.
So he knew nothing about it before it came out?
Nothing that could change it.
Well, the Red Sox say in their own defense that the deal that they signed had them paying more for private use of a public space than anyone prior. So you recently gave Treasure public parking spots to 2 companies to encourage car sharing. Do you think taxpayers are getting the best?
Well, they didn't get the spots. They're leasing the spots from the city of Boston, and the intent behind that is to make sure that we can cut down on traffic. Young people or people don't own cars as much anymore, and they won't have to buy a car if there's car sharing in their area. But I just want to go back to the Red Sox piece.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
You know, when you talk about it's a street. And I think there's a big difference between a street and a piece of public land. They're the same. However, you're talking about a thoroughfare where people go through. It's similar to back I think in the 70s or 80s, the city of Boston sold Dorchester Avenue down by the post office to the federal government. I would never sell a city-owned piece of land to anything, particularly something that can be used later on. I mean, you have Dorchester Avenue, which is closed off now. If we could open Dorchester Avenue all the way through, it would help relieve traffic situation and congestion. So I think that we have to think more thoughtful about selling city-owned land.
So the Red Sox used as with their argument saying they paid more for the use of that than any other private land. So you're saying that argument is bogus, basically, because it's a street, not a piece of property.
My concern is that it's a street, and I think when you're selling a street, it is a problem. And again, I don't really see the value behind. I haven't dug down to why the intent was to buy Yawkey Way. When you have the Red Sox, or you have any business in the city, for that matter, if there's a need to use part of a public way, there should be able to do a lease negotiation for the time of, or some type of agreement. Go back to the car sharing situation.
That's where I was going to steer it back, yeah.
We own the street. We leased spots, 31 spots around the city of Boston. Those spots belong to the city. That street belongs to the city. When this agreement
and they're earning income.
Yeah. When this is over, those spots revert back to the city of Boston. If this didn't work.
Have you gotten a lot of grief from residents saying those are 3 spaces that I used to use all the time?
I mean, in certain neighborhoods, people are upset about. But I'll tell you, you know, when you think about long term, the impact it can have, is going to be a positive thing. And again, it's thinking differently. It's how do we every day somebody grabs me about traffic in the city of Boston and the amount of cars that are in our city. The issue here is that we have an opportunity through car sharing to allow people that don't want to have to buy a car and don't have to move their spot. They'll have their car in the neighborhood. Those 2 cars, or those 31 cars in the city of Boston, could potentially cut down on hundreds of additional cars on our streets.
There are 80 spaces right now that you're leasing out to 2 companies. And it's a pilot program. Do you see yourself expanding that program and adding more spaces,
well, we want to see what
leasing more spaces?
We'll see what the pilot program. We'll see what the pilot program does. You know, there's other car sharing programs in the city that lease private spaces. So we'll see what happens.
Let's shift the conversation. Today is Sunday. The Patriots aren't playing today, so
I know, it's sad. Although it was a great game the other night.
That was all right on Thursday night. There's another company that's on the public hot seat. It's DraftKings. It seems to be in the news every news cycle, every day. You told us earlier this week that a separate tax on that industry might be a way to pay for much-needed transportation upgrades.
Well, I'll tell you, you know...
Let's start there.
When you look at DraftKings, and put aside the issue is it gambling or not, that's not a decision for me to make. It's going to be made by a different
right.
entity. But I think what's happening here is with DraftKings, with Uber, with Airbnb, you have a lot of new ideas for companies, and technology is really driving it. And I think the government, federal government and state and city government have to catch up with technology, because now what's happened is, you know, you have 3 companies that appear to be very successful, and people like it, and particularly the younger generation loves it. And we're going back and trying to regulate these 3 industries. And I think that we have to figure a way of how do we regulate this new type of business model in this country. And that's what we have to do. We have to figure out how we're going to do it. Because some of the reason why they're successful, they have less regulations on them, but yet now we have legislation at the State House dealing with Airbnb. There's legislation at the State House dealing with Uber, and we have the Attorney General's office.
But isn't regulation going to take the air out of the efficacy of it?
I think we have to look at regulation in a different manner. I think when we talk about this new type of business model, we have to look at regulations in a different manner. We can't do it the same old regulations that's happened. I think when you talk about the changing environment that we have, you know, we have more tech and more startup companies in the city of Boston than we've ever had. You know, there's a real emphasis on that. When you go around the country, you know, every economy that's booming in different cities, it's around the tech industry. We're going to see more and more of these companies, so we have to figure out, you can't overregulate them. We can't discourage them from starting up, but they are economic generators. To go back to DraftKings, I think what I was saying that the money that potentially is being generated by DraftKings, we weren't anticipating that money. If we could take that money and dedicate it towards something, it may be transportation.
Are you saying the word tax? Maybe?
What kind of tax?
Yeah.
What kind of tax?
Well, I mean, they pay different type of taxes now. I'm saying whatever the form of payment is.
They pay corporate taxes, but apparently they're not making a profit yet. At least that's what they're saying. So what kind of tax do you think?
I mean, the corporate tax. I think we should be earmarking some of this tax for something like DraftKings, if it's, you know, into transportation. I think it's a way to pay for some of the infrastructure that we need to do in the state and the city.
So let's blend Uber and Lyft into this part of the conversation. Are there any changes you think would be fair for this new age car service? To keep it effective with the users and to keep it effective within the city?
Well, there's certainly some issues around safety that people are concerned about, making sure that they're on the same par as taxi cabs. I think that you're talking about 2 different services, very different services that do the same thing, that move people around.
Anything else besides public safety needs to be changed
Public
about those
Public safety is the biggest one, and then there's discussions about fees, the way they charge their customers are different. There was a story in the paper the other day about Uber and drivers not getting tips because the way the payment system's made out. And you know, I think that the Uber company was a brilliant idea. I mean, it's very efficient, it's quick, people love it, people use it.
And the main reason they use it because it's less expensive than taxis. So do you think that we should be regulating their fees?
In some cases, less expensive than taxis. Other times, it's not. They do have
depending on
But again, I think to go back to answer this correctly is that I think that we as a government, when we talk about regulatory authority and agencies, we have to look at these companies. We probably have to look to a different lens, and we can't look at through the old lens. We can't be discouraging businesses from starting.
All right.
They're both successful.
So you're not saying setting fees for Uber or Lyft.
I'm just saying how do we come up with regulations that can work?
Speaking of brilliant ideas, we're now at the OTR Pop Quiz.
That was fast.
One could argue one of the most brilliant ideas in the history of television, right?
Oh, God.
Oh, look at this. We even got our own little trick or treat going here. Hold on, let's put it in the screen here so you can see it. There you go. Is there any, there are Butterfingers on here.
They're good. They're really good. And they're coming home.
It's your favorite Halloween candy. So we decided,
cups too.
We decided a bouquet of Butterfingers. We had them left over from Halloween, so we thought maybe this will give you a little encouragement as you do the pop quiz.
Yeah.
All right.
Because
the city of Cambridge gave us Junior Mints and Charleston Chews, but many historians believe Dorchester was the home to America's oldest producer of chocolate. Can you name the manufacturer?
Baker Chocolate
There
Factory.
You go. Bingo. Ding, 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 ding.
Fair.
Well, that was good.
He's from Dorchester.
Well, whatever.
I'm going to be living about 3 minutes from now.
Question 2. Emerson's Majestic Cutler Theater on Tremont Street is one stop on Boston's Ghosts and Gravestones tour. According to the guide, numerous visitors report seeing a ghost of a former Boston mayor still sitting in the same seat where he died during a performance. Whose ghost could it be? And I'll give you choices.
Okay.
Mayor Tobin, Mayor Curley, Mayor Hines, or no Boston mayor has ever died in the theater.
No Boston mayor has ever died in the theater.
Man, you're 2 for 2. We continue on the record with the mayor and a bouquet of
Thank you.
I
Butterfingers.
was going to say, you can have a Butterfinger. You can have a Butterfinger now.